In the shadow of Mount Olympus, in the small kingdom of Macedon, a child is born who will one day change the shape of the world. His name is Alexander, son of King Philip II and Queen Olympias. The year is 356 BC, and on the night of his birth, legend says the temple of Artemis burns to the ground, as if the gods themselves are announcing the arrival of destiny. From the beginning, Alexander's life is wrapped in prophecy and ambition. His mother tells him he is descended from Achilles, his father from Heracles, and he grows up believing that greatness is not a choice, but a duty. Under the watchful eye of his father, Alexander learns the art of war, riding horses before he can read, wielding a spear before he can write. When others see a wild stallion that cannot be tamed, Alexander sees potential. He calms the animal by turning it toward the sun so it can no longer fear its own shadow. The horse, named Bucephalus, becomes his lifelong companion. Ibn Asaboy Alexander shows courage and control that astonish all who see him. But courage alone will not forge an empire. Philip, an ambitious and ruthless king, reforms Macedon's army into a weapon of iron discipline. He teaches his son the art of command, of strategy, of politics. Yet Alexander's education goes far beyond the battlefield. At 13, he is tutored by Aristotle, the greatest philosopher of his age. In a grove near Mysa beneath the open sky, Alexander studies science, medicine, poetry, and philosophy. Aristotle teaches him that reason is power, that the world can be known through observation and thought. But the young prince's imagination is already fixed on something greater, the conquest of the unknown. When he reads Homer's Iliad, he keeps a copy under his pillow, calling it his manual for glory. At 16, when his father campaigns abroad, Alexander governs Macedon in his place, crushing a rebellion with decisive speed. At 18, he commands troops at the Battle of Gaugamela, leading the companion cavalry in a charge that shatters the enemy line. His victory helps secure Macedon's dominance over Greece. But behind the triumph lies tension. Father and son, both proud and brilliant, are bound for conflict. Philip prepares to invade Persia, but his growing arrogance and his new marriage to a younger woman strain his bond with Alexander. In 336 BC, at a grand celebration in Asia, Philip is struck down by an assassin's blade. The king is dead, and the court erupts in chaos. Some whisper conspiracy, others point to Persia. But before Tao can take root, Alexander seizes control. At 20 years old, he ascends the throne of Macedon. He eliminates rivals swiftly and decisively, silencing those who would challenge his claim. The Greek city-states, sensing weakness, rise in revolt. Thebes, proud and defiant, becomes the first to test the young king. Alexander marches with terrifying speed. In just 2 weeks, he stands before the city walls. Thebes refuses to surrender. The response is merciless. The city is stormed, its defenders slaughtered, its buildings leveled. Only the temples and the house of the poet Pindar are spared. The message is clear. Defiance will be met with annihilation. Greece submits, and Alexander turns his gaze eastward. The dream of his father becomes his own, the conquest of Persia. In the spring of 334 BC, he crosses the Hellespont with 37,000 men, standing on the edge of Asia, staring toward immortality. At the shore, he throws a spear into the soil and declares the land a gift from the gods. The campaign of Alexander the Great has begun. The first test comes at the river Granada. Persian satraps gather their forces to block his advance. The river runs swift and deep, the banks steep, the enemy confident. Yet Alexander does not hesitate. He leads the charge himself, his horse plunging into the water as arrows darken the sky. The clash is brutal. For a moment, Alexander's life hangs in the balance as a Persian nobleman raises his sword to strike him down. But his companion Cletus intervenes, saving his king. When the dust settles, the Persians are shattered. The victory at Granicus opens the gates of Asia Minor. One by one, the cities of the coast fall to him. Those who resist are crushed. Those who surrender are spared and honored. His policy is clear. Loyalty earns mercy. Defiance earns ruin. The legend of Alexander spreads like wildfire. To his men, he is invincible. To his enemies, unstoppable. But the Persian king Darius III, will not yield, so he gathers a massive army to confront the invader. In 333 BC, the two forces meet near the town of Issus. The terrain is narrow, favoring the smaller Macedonian army. As the Persians outnumber them several times over, Alexander's strategy and discipline will decide the day. He surveys the field, sees the weakness in the enemy line, and strikes like lightning. With his companion cavalry, he charges directly toward Darius himself. Panic spreads through the Persian ranks. The great king flees, leaving behind his chariot, his treasure, and even his family. The Macedonian sees everything. For the first time, the Persian illusion of invincibility is broken. Alexander treats Darius's captured wife and daughters with respect, earning admiration even from his enemies. The conquest of Asia now seems inevitable, but Alexander's path is not just conquest, it is transformation. As he marches south, city after city submits. Tyre alone resists. The Arland fortress stands defiant for 7 months, until Alexander builds a causeway from the mainland, turning the sea into land. When Tyre finally falls, its punishment is severe. Yet Alexander's ambition grows larger than vengeance. He moves to Egypt, where he is welcomed as a liberator. The priests of Memphis crowned him pharaoh, and in the desert, he founds a new city, Alexandria, which he proclaims will be a beacon of learning and trade for all time. Before returning east, he journeys deep into the desert to the Oracle of Siwa. There, legend says, the oracle greets him as the son of Zeus. Whether divine truth or human flattery, Alexander leaves convinced of his godlike destiny. Now, he turns once more toward Darius. The Persian king gathers one last, enormous army drawn from every corner of his empire, a force so vast it shakes the earth. In 331 BC, near the village of Gaugamela, the two armies meet in the decisive confrontation. Darius commands chariots with spinning blades, cavalry, and countless infantry. Alexander's forces are outnumbered 5-1 the night before the battle. His generals urge caution, but he refuses to attack under darkness. "I will not steal my victory," he says. As dawn breaks, the Macedonian phalanx advances. The air is filled with dust, the ground trembling with the march of men. Darius unleashes his chariots, but Alexander's men open their ranks, trapping and destroying them. Then, with perfect timing, Alexander leads his cavalry in a wedge formation straight at the heart of the Persian line. Darius sees the charge and flees once more. The Persian army collapses in panic. The great king's empire is broken. Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis fall in succession. At Persepolis, the jewel of Persia, Alexander takes the royal palace, its halls glittering with gold. For a moment, he hesitates before ordering the city burned, a symbolic act of vengeance for the Persian invasion of Greece. A century before, the flames consume the palace as dancers and soldiers watch, a vision of beauty and destruction entwined. Now, master of Asia, Alexander faces a new challenge, ruling it. His army is rich and victorious, but restless. Many have fought for years and long to return home, yet Alexander is driven by a hunger that no victory can satisfy. He believes his destiny is to unite East and West, to forge one world under one rule. He adopts Persian dress, marries a Persian princess named Roxana, and encourages his officers to do the same. To his soldiers, it feels like betrayal. To Alexander, it is as Darius is betrayed and murdered by his own men, Alexander mourns him as a fallen king and takes revenge on his killers. He now claims the title of King of Asia. But even as he ascends to godlike power, shadows begin to form around him. Suspicion, arrogance, and the relentless toll of endless conquest. His journey is far from over, and his empire, though vast, is still hungry for more. With Persia subdued and the known world seemingly at his feet, Alexander's ambition only grows. The world beyond the eastern horizon calls to him, mysterious and tales reach him of vast lands rich in gold and strange beasts, of mighty kings and powerful armies. India becomes his next destination, a land he intends to bring under his rule. In 327 BC, he he leads his army eastward, crossing the Hindu Kush mountains into lands few Greeks have ever seen. The march is brutal. Snow, hunger, and exhaustion cut deep into his ranks. But Alexander drives him forward with unwavering resolve. When he reaches the Indus River, he meets resistance from local rulers who refuse to submit. But none can match his strategy or his speed. City after city falls. So may BC, others through diplomacy. His charisma and terror work together as instruments of empire. At last he faces his greatest test in India, the kingdom of Paras, a tall, proud king who commands a formidable army of war elephants. The two meet in 326 BC at the Battle of the Hydaspes River. The rain pours, the river swells, and thunder rolls across the sky as if the gods themselves are watching. Porus stands ready on the far bank, his elephants forming a living wall. Alexander knows a direct assault would be suicide. So, under cover of darkness and storm, he leads part of his army upstream, crossing the raging river in secret. As dawn breaks, he attacks from the flank, catching Porus by surprise. The battle that follows is one of the most intense of Alexander's life. The elephants charge, their tusks armored, their riders hurling spears. The Macedonian phalanx holds firm, spears flashing like a sea of iron. Arrows fill the sky, horses scream, and the ground shakes beneath the clash of man and beast. At one point, Alexander himself is nearly killed when his horse Bucephalus is wounded beneath him. But the king fights on, driving the enemy back through sheer will and precision. When victory is his, Alexander approaches Porus, not as a conqueror but as a fellow warrior. "How would you have me treat you?" he asks. Porus replies, "Like a king." Alexander smiles. So be it. He restores Porus to his throne, granting him even more land. For Alexander, this is not just magnanimity, it is strategy. By honoring the brave, he wins loyalty where fear alone would fail. Yet victory has a price. His men, worn by years of campaigning, begin to murmur. They have marched farther than any Greek before them. When Alexander demands to push further east toward the Ganges, they refuse. Rain pours down as he faces his army, pleading, reasoning, commanding. But the men stand silent. For the first time, Alexander meets an enemy he cannot conquer: exhaustion. Reluctantly, he agrees to turn back. He builds 12 altars to the gods at the edge of his empire, marking the limit of his conquest. The march home is one of suffering and endurance. Through the Jedrosian desert, heat and thirst destroy thousands. The sands claim men, horses, and supplies alike. Alexander shares their pain, walking beside his soldiers, refusing water when others have none. His determination inspires loyalty even in despair. When he finally reaches Babylon in 324 BC, he is still only 31 years old. He has conquered an empire stretching from Greece to India, from Egypt to the mountains of Afghanistan. No man before or since has achieved such feats in so short a life. Yet peace eludes him. His empire, vast and diverse, begins to strain under the weight of its own contradictions. Greeks resent the Persian customs he has adopted. Persians doubt the sincerity of his rule. He dreams of unity, of a new world where East and West blend into one civilization. He organizes mass marriages between his officers and Persian noblewomen, hoping to fuse two peoples into one. But the idea is too far ahead of its time. Suspicion grows among his generals. Old friends begin to turn away. In one drunken rage, Alexander kills Cletus, the man who once saved his life again. The guilt haunts him deeply. The conqueror of worlds finds himself a prisoner of his own anger. His health begins to fail, his spirit worn thin by endless striving. Yet he never stops planning. He dreams of new campaigns, of Arabia, of the edge of the world, as if death itself could be conquered. In June 323 BC, in Babylon, Alexander falls ill after a banquet. Fever consumes him. For days he drifts in and out of consciousness, surrounded by his generals and companions. As the end nears, they ask him to whom he leaves his empire. His voice, faint but clear, answers, "To the strongest." Moments later, he is gone. The world falls silent. He is 32 years old, the greatest conqueror in history, undefeated in battle, dies without an heir. His generals weep, his soldiers mourn, and in their grief lies the seed of chaos. The empire he forged begins to fracture almost immediately. His body is meant to be taken to Macedonia, but one of his generals, Ptolemy, seizes it and takes it to Egypt, where it will rest in Alexandria, the city that bears his name. The others divide his empire like scavengers dividing prey. Antigonus, Seleucus, Lysimachus, Cassander, names that will define the age of the successors. Men who once followed Alexander now fighting over his legacy. The wars that follow are brutal, but none can recreate what he built. The unity of East and West collapses into competing kingdoms, yet Alexander's vision survives in a different way. His conquests spread Greek culture across Asia, giving birth to the Hellenistic Age, a fusion of Greek, Persian, Egyptian, and Indian traditions. Cities founded in his name become centers of trade and learning. Greek becomes the language of science and philosophy from the Mediterranean to the Indus. The world he shaped continues to evolve long after his death. In art, he is portrayed as a god. In legend, as the man who reached the ends of the earth. To some, he is a hero, the embodiment of courage, intelligence, and ambition. To others, he is a destroyer, a man whose dreams drowned nations in blood. But history cannot deny what he achieved. From the moment he crossed the Hellespont, he never lost a single battle. His tactics and leadership remain studied centuries later by generals and scholars alike. At Issus, Gaugamela, and Hydaspes. His ability to adapt, to read the field, to turn chaos into order, made him unstoppable. His soldiers followed him not just out of fear, but out of devotion. A devotion earned by his courage, for he fought at the front, shared their hardships, and faced the same dangers they did. He was more than a king. He was a symbol of human will pushed to its absolute limit. Yet his story is also a warning. The same fire that drives greatness can also consume it. In the end, Alexander conquered everything except himself. His empire crumbled, but his name endured. Even centuries later, when Rome rose to power, its leaders looked to him as the model of conquest. Julius Caesar wept at the statue of Alexander, lamenting that by his own age, he had achieved nothing compared to him. Napoleon studied his campaigns, seeking to emulate his genius. To this day, his influence echoes through time. More than 2 millennia have passed, yet the legend of Alexander the Great remains undimmed. In the deserts of Egypt, the mountains of Persia, and the plains of India, ruins still bear his name. Poets, painters, and philosophers have all tried to capture his essence. The young king who believed he was born to rule the world. His life is a paradox, a story of creation and destruction, of idealism and arrogance, of human brilliance and human flaw. When he stood on the edge of India, staring into the horizon, he wept, they say, because there were no more worlds to conquer. Whether the tale is true or not, it speaks to the heart of his legend. For Alexander, conquest was not merely ambition, it was existence itself. He saw himself not as a mortal man, but as the bridge between gods and men, between East and West, between the known and the infinite. In the end, perhaps that is why his story endures, not because he built an empire, but because he embodied the eternal human hunger to reach beyond the possible. From the dust of Macedon to the banks of the Indus, from victory to victory, from triumph to tragedy, Alexander the Great remains the king who never lost a battle, a name that will echo through history as long as men dream of greatness.